inflammation, which is really, really interesting. Now, I don't know if anyone out there here on this call has an autoimmune issue, but they are highly correlated to food intolerance and gut health. So the good news, I believe, is that everyone that has, this is my belief, okay? Just because I've seen really amazing things happen, is that autoimmune issues can be put into remission. Like I say that with 100% certainty because I've seen it. Rheumatoid arthritis, um, Hashimoto's. I'll tell you a story about that. So like amazing things. I was talking about this yesterday with my group. Any gardeners out there? Any of you ever like resuscitated a plant? So I've really gotten super into orchids. Like, I love orchids. And orchids are delicate. They need a certain touch, but what's interesting about orchids is that they can seem nearly dead, and then you can regenerate them and bring them back to life. And which is also like really rewarding to do. But the same is true for us. Like I believe that we can really regenerate ourselves if we put ourselves into the right environment. I have a current client. She gets regular migraines, okay? And she did my sugar detox program. It's just like this cookie cutter anti-inflammatory program that I curated. And she effortlessly dropped 20 pounds and her migraines, they disappeared. They went away. So that was lucky as far as I'm concerned. She did food testing, and when her food test came back, it was so interesting. It validated that particular strategy and why it had worked so well because the foods that are taken out in the sugar detox were also problems for her. You know what I'm saying? So that it was a nice validation. Now, when she goes off plan, her headaches return and her weight goes up. So that part highlights the unfortunate truth, which is that we're only, like as human beings, only likely to change our behavior when we experience pain around something. Um, it doesn't have to be a physical pain. It could be an emotional pain, like, oh, I can't fit into my clothes. It's really uncomfortable. So I'm inviting you today to consider avoiding future pain or any activation of health issues by tailoring your eating and lifestyle strategy to optimize your personal data, okay? Um, your genetic predispositions. That's that blueprint you came in with, because you are all uniquely special, all of you. None of you here is exactly the same. So none of your dietary strategies should be quite the same. Okay. Are you guys familiar with the diseases of aging? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia. There's more. There are other diseases, sure. Those are the biggies. Okay. 80% of us, 80% are going to develop one of those in the elder years. Who wants to be in the 20% who prevent that? I do. Who wants to be able to play with their grandchildren or walk them down the aisle, travel the globe easily, get out of bed without aches and pains, do all your favorite activities? Like, I want to still be skiing in my 80s. Okay. The power of food to heal is incredible. I worked with this one lady. She had an autoimmune condition called CREST. Okay. Like, her fingers were crooked, they were painful. She was in her 60s, and she loved to paint and to garden and to sew as her passion. And so her fingers were super important to her. And she didn't do testing at the time. I just got lucky. I've had moments of luck. in my career. And she responded well to we I think we did a paleo autoimmune protocol. And by the way, folks, if you respond well to something, that's an indicator. Now, your blood work should reflect how good you feel, right? Because we have to also look at the insides, not just, oh, yeah, but what happened to this woman is incredible. She dropped 40 pounds, okay? But that was not really, that was like a side note. Her fingers straightened out. That was the most incredible thing because her fingers were priceless to her. I wish we had taken the before and the after pictures, but I didn't know that was going to happen, to be honest with you. So, like I said, I got lucky then. But in functional medicine, we say test, don't guess, because what you don't measure, you don't manage. And unfortunately, the medical community is not on board with this yet. Okay. If you go to the dermatologist, they're gonna, like, I don't know about you, but they don't ask me what I'm eating, right? Like mine will give me a cream. Maybe they'll want to prescribe a balm like Accutane, which will destroy the gut microbiome. Okay. Some doctors are not curious at all. I mean, one of my clients, he got off his blood pressure medicine, and the cardiologist was like, good for you. Just keep up whatever you're doing. Like, no curiosity. But yet others, they kind of like, oh, this is very interesting. Like, I had a lady with Hashimoto's. Her antibodies completely disappeared. She also lost 20 pounds. Amazing. Her better blood sugar, better insulin, uh, lowered inflammation, obviously. And now that doctor's like, she refers me a lot. Thank goodness. But I invite you guys to think about, let's say, weight as just another symptom. Okay, just another symptom like headaches or constipation, things that things that you have considered your normal are not necessarily normal. We can address them once you go and look at, beyond just the regular annual physical stuff. Okay, because your body's constantly trying to give you feedback. Speaking of annual physicals, anyone here have a dog? Okay, well, like I've spent thousands at the vet for my dogs. Have you? Like we will do anything for our children and pets. Am I right? So, every year as part of the annual visit, we do a stool test for dogs. And I just think it's very strange that we don't make an annual stool test part of our annual visit for humans because we know so much more about the gut microbiome and how critical it is for mental health and for weight management. Um, it's like who here is concerned about brain health? Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see Rocky waving. Cool. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's terrible to watch family members suffer with memory loss. It's truly, truly, truly horrible. Um, but as far as like the gut and weight, do you know the story about the Olympian who developed C. diff? Like C. diff is a horrible, horrible bacteria, and it causes terrible diarrhea. And it's also really difficult to treat. So this woman, I believe she was an Olympic runner. She had a really bad version of it, and she's in the hospital. And they finally decided to try a fecal transplant. And the healthy person that provided the material for the fecal transplant weighed 30 pounds more than the Olympian. Interestingly enough, the runner ended up gaining 30 pounds. It's like, but she got well. She got totally well, but she gained 30 pounds. So the microbes in your gut, they're signaling all kinds of messages to the rest of your body. So yes, your gut microbiome speaking to your hormones, which impacts your weight, it impacts your mood, everything. Like In the tests that I've run, if you have elevated Prevotella, for example, it's a sign that you aren't digesting protein well. If you have elevated S. aureus, it's correlated to eczema. Okay. I had a husband and wife that I worked with where she was getting regular yeast infections, and it was because her husband had high levels of Klebsiella. And you Google Klebsiella, it's a nasty bacteria. It kind of acts like a fungus. And so they both needed to be treated, right? Um, and that's important to know. That's important for spouses to know. Like they're going to share microbiomes as well. What's great is that we have the technology to measure what's going on. And you're going to hear me say it a few times, but what you don't measure, you can't manage. So, is it okay with you guys if I share for just a quick second about my system and how like this works?
Let's do takeaways first. I think
Okay.
like let's give it up for Kristina for like dropping so much knowledge and insight and relatability. Like Kristina, you just told story after story after story about all these things and people are even asking what is leaky gut, and yes, this is fascinating. Or I mean literally I'm like blown away by your knowledge, and we knew that you are super smarty pants. So we're going to test like one of my takeaways, and this is something I know but like I have to be reminded of, so it's okay, this is a place where we humble ourselves. The power of food to heal. Right? Like this is something that I need to consistently be reminded of and that Kristina just shared. Who wants to raise their hand and do a couple takeaways? And then she'll tell us the system overview. And then we're going to bring somebody on stage. And we're just getting started, you guys. So, like, I didn't know about C. diff. I had just heard some of these things recently. So, who has a takeaway they want to share, just like an aha moment? If you're new here, you're going to raise your hand or you're going to wave at me. We are going to pause or I'll call you out. Because it's not for Kristina to just drop a bunch of knowledge. Remember, our retention goes up to 85% when we share takeaways. I'm seeing comments in the chat, great information. Everything is interconnected. Someone's like, never looked at this before.
Oh,
Okay.
Owen.
Oh,
Owen.
Owen, yes, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yep.
So I had a interesting takeaway. Normally we just follow diets. We don't care about if we only care about if it tastes good. So the takeaway I got was you could actually be eating something that's actually destructive for your body.
Awesome, Owen. Exactly right. And it could be a healthy food too, like what we think is a healthy food.
Right.
Yeah, for just a moment, I'm gonna say like let's pretend all of us eat just a whole foods diet. Let's pretend none of us eat processed food. And we all do, right? It's like we all do. So, but let's pretend we lived 125 years ago and really didn't have anything except minimal processing, like canned foods or pickled foods. We just they didn't exist, these things in a bag or a box or microwavable meals and stuff. So let's just pretend from there, there are healthy foods that do injure us individually. So we will be chat. So it's a great takeaway, Owen. Thank you.
Give it up for Owen for breaking the ice. Who else has a takeaway? Let's see. In the chat, Betty says, my greatest takeaway is to choose to be in the 20%. That's so good. And then we have some questions in the chat too, which we'll get to. We will get to the questions. Okay. Any other takeaways before Kristina tells us a little bit about the system, and then we'll bring a special guest on stage.
Yeah, great. Honestly, it's very simple, you guys. It's literally three simple steps. Test, then we implement, we review the tests, and I help you stay accountable. Okay, that's that 80%, right? That the psychology and the behavior and the compliance, making sure you stay on track, and then we retest. So it's test, implement, retest. Super simple. That's it. So I'm sure we'll circle back on it, but that's
Ah,
that's all we do.
I love how simple it is. And you're going to teach us about the various steps of the system here the rest of the masterclass, right? That's the
Yes,
plan.
of course. Yes.
Okay, so yeah. All right. Rob, are you in the house still?
I see him.
I am.
Okay, Kristina, do you want to introduce him and bring him onto stage?
Introducing the great Roberto Vanucci, who worked with me 10 years ago. Yes.
Time flies.
But he looks great. So tell us a little bit about um, why you were willing to come today and share a little bit. Like what happened recently in
Yeah.
your life to someone you love that kind of prompted you to reach back out?
Yeah, so just a little background. So like Christina said, we started working together about 10 years ago. And, we already talked about it earlier. I, like everybody, tried to lose weight, tried whatever the newest fad was, and, you know, did it for a little while, got a little discouraged. New Year's would come around, time to start something new. By about the second week in January, I'd say, screw that, and just, the cycle continued. And so, uh, probably almost 10 years to the day, I got to that stage in life where I just said, I can't do this anymore. It was time to get serious and, you know, stay accountable, and started working with Christina and made some significant changes. Ironically, the world was very different then. We didn't know today what we knew. We didn't know then what we know today. And so the plan looked a little different, but the results were amazing. And
You lost what, 75 pounds, I think?
yeah, yeah, in a year's time.
Awesome.
Which was great. And fortunately, I've kept most of it off. Had some fluctuations here and there, but mostly have kept it off. I mean, I'm just changed everything about my life, my diet, my exercise. It's affected my work in a good way. But to Christina's original question, it also has affected my personal life in a very positive way. So I am in a new relationship since Christina and I first worked together. And my partner, who is even more active than I am, and probably more disciplined than I am in terms of her food, was struggling with her weight. I would watch her eat extraordinarily healthy and work out 3 times a day. We're both pretty active people, and just not be where she wanted to be health wise. So I said, I've got an answer. I've got someone who's amazing and magical and terrific and knows all the things. And so she started working with Christina probably about a month ago. And, again, the process looked a little bit different because there were tests today that didn't exist 10 years ago. Uh, but needless to say, after doing the stool tests and the blood tests and the genetic tests and everything, come to find out that all those things that you would stereotypically think are healthy weren't. And there was, all kinds of intolerances and all kinds of inflammations caused by all those quote unquote healthy foods. And so we're now in the process of, changing the mindset. And I'm in the process of jumping in for round two because, I'm quite certain that a lot of the things that I'm eating today that you would think are healthy, probably aren't and are probably contributing to why I'm not exactly where I want to be.
Thank you so much. That's amazing.
You're amazing.
Wow, that's a really powerful testimony because not only did the strategies Kristina taught 10 years ago work, but it's the power of partnering with somebody like Kristina is the curated, focused feedback, right? Somebody was asking, is it just one test? It's like it's a series of different tests for you based on who you are. It's to figure out if, like my friend who couldn't eat tomatoes,
Hmm.
this is the exact point. Like he can't eat tomatoes or eggplant or whatever that type of
Yeah, the nightshades.
nightshade. And we would all think that tomatoes are healthy. So anyway, Rob, thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Was there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I'm equally as fascinated and, eager to hear more, learn more.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll bring her on in a future masterclass as a testimony, uh, because she's in implementation phase right now, right? So, um, then we'll retest in 3 months and see where everything lands. But yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It's like I can't argue with the data.
No, for sure. For sure. And it's just stuff that, you never would have thought or never would have occurred to you until go through the tests and go through the data.
Hmm. Exactly right. Well, yeah, I mean, so like weight and body composition are important metrics. Like no one's going to dispute the importance of a healthy weight on your longevity and health span. However, I also say a lean physique can still have clogged arteries. You can still have boatloads of inflammation. And that will show up in any number of ways, right? It could be migraines, could be allergies, could be digestive issues, pain, bloat, gas, reflux, constipation, or diarrhea. So you could have achy joints, poor recovery, tendency for injury, mood imbalances, right? It's like we have like a mental health crisis going on right now. We have a lot of anxiety and depression. And yeah, social media is contributing, a different topic, but our food's kind of wonky too. So um, and then for us that are really like looking forward for healthy aging, cognitive decline is definitely a concern. Um, Begins with that fogginess and that poor memory. So, and then what about things like fatigue? What about things you can really, really see, like high blood sugar, blood pressure, um, dizziness? My mom gets that. Dizziness, ringing in the ears. These things don't get correlated to food. They don't get correlated to micronutrient levels, gut microbiome imbalances. Now, is everything fixed by food? No, no, I'm not gonna pretend that it is. Um, there is a place for medication. Absolutely. We live in an amazing time when we have amazing medication. Um, and sometimes certain things are just fixed by really simple tools like water, sleep, less stress. I had a woman in her late 60s come to me. She very petite, loved to exercise, eat clean, all the things, but she had developed type 2 diabetes and she was so confused by this. Now, turns out she never drank water. Okay, she'd maybe have like a cup of water a day. And a lot of people are very chronically dehydrated, by the way. But this person, very tiny person, just no thirst response. And with age, we do get a decline in thirst response. So we have to be very mindful to keep drinking water. Um, but dehydration is so stressful on your body, you guys. It's stressful on your heart and it elevates your blood sugar. Have you ever tried to go donate blood? Like donate blood or go get a blood draw, you're getting a lab done and you go to Quest and they can't stick you or your blood's really sludgy because you're dehydrated. That is not good, right? So this client of mine, she reversed her A1C to completely normal because she was full on diabetic. It was above a 6, in 3 months just by drinking water. That is amazing. Now, the formula for water, you can write this down. It's very simple. Drink half of your body weight in ounces. And then for every cup of coffee you drink, you add another 8 ounces. And if you're exercising outside or you're doing an intense workout class, you add another 20 ounces per hour of activity. So if when you start doing the math, you might see that you're not really drinking enough water. So that kind of thing, like that dehydration, it leads to insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is correlated to weight. Okay, so if like you're struggling with your weight, like you're overweight, you'd already have insulin resistance. You might not have it in the blood. You probably have it in your skeletal muscle. And so lifting weights is going to help you there. Okay. Um, Age is not a factor. I had a woman during the pandemic that I worked with, 77 years old. She's in her 80s now. Um, Lifelong binge eater. She went on a ketogenic, ultra low carb diet. She lost 100 pounds in 6 months, and she had lymphedema. That's like the swelling, in her legs. And she lost 14 liters of water in her legs. Like that's a lot of water because carbohydrates, they make you store water. So when you have a condition that makes you store too much water, it's very helpful to do that kind of strategy. So again, like I'm telling you that story because age is not a factor, right? So combining the right strategy for you plus consistent behavior is is the name of the game. Um, but let's talk insulin for a sec because insulin is a very important metabolic hormone, just like leptin. Leptin is the hormone that tells you you're satisfied, and it's like what the GLPs are helping people with. Okay. Um, so, like I said, sometimes the insulin resistance might be due to dehydration. It could be the onset could be stress, it could be lack of sleep, and those would be like acute insulin resistance. Um, and we're definitely going to get to some sleep hacks because sleep is so important. Um, and there's a new sleep test that Genova just released that tests melatonin and cortisol and progesterone, and that's a really cool test that I can
Oh
offer.
no. Wait, go ahead. What about the sleep test? I don't